Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the PIPCAST, your Pip-Boy supported podcast. This episode is sponsored by Takihashi Power Noodles, the dish of Diamond City. My name is Tony Mo, and I'm joined by my co-host Kato Genesis, and I'd like to welcome you to episode 9 of the PIPCAST, which is also the "Oh my God, it's finally here" episode. Fallout 4 released yesterday.
Woo!
We've been playing it nonstop. I think I hit the 20-hour mark today. So
yeah, me too.
We're all about a day's worth, unless you haven't slept, in which case you're insane, and you could possibly have like 40 hours or something absurd like that. Really, we're gonna spend most of the episode just talking about the game. This is gonna be spoiler free, so don't worry, guys. A lot of it's gonna be just kind of general discussion about how we feel about like the perk system and combat and things of that nature. There will be no story talk here.
Features and mechanics. That's what we're about.
Yeah, we're gonna ignore all that stuff, so none of it will be spoiled. But there's quite a bit of news, some of it old, some of it new, that I thought was definitely worth mentioning regardless. First and foremost, there is an artist, I'll have a link for it down in the description below, by the name of Peter Slavic, who has been drawing Fallout Disney princesses. He's been doing one every day. I think he has a total of like 8 now or something like that. Anyways, we'll have the full link to it. I mean, there's some awesome stuff in there. We've got Chinese assassin Mulan fighting Power Armor Cinderella. Like, this stuff is seriously dope.
And then strung out Alice,
Jet Junkie Alice. They're really exceptionally awesome. Definitely recommend checking them out. I think I actually have the Snow White one set as my wallpaper because it's just so cool.
Yeah, I got Jasmine set as mine. She's a raider type.
Raider, yeah, with the
she's holding a Ripper and a Deathclaw head. It's pretty sick. So you guys should check it out.
Yeah, kudos to that dude, man. He's killing it with that art. Let's see what else we got. Todd Howard. There was a great Todd Howard interview. You actually linked this to me, Kato, on Digital Times. Again, if you haven't played the game or if you're not going to be playing it till later, great interview to read. He doesn't even talk about that. It's just him talking about gameplay mechanics, kind of talking about his time with Bethesda. Really just a great interview. I think it was cool just to hear directly from Todd and like how much he enjoys being at Bethesda. Like, I feel like a lot of people who have been at a company for as long as he has have a tendency to start to feel like, okay, time to move on. What else can I do? But, Todd just seems like, this is my family. These are the games we love making. I thought it was cool, too, to hear him talk in that interview a little bit about, ideas that they have outside of the Elder Scrolls and Fallout universe. So who knows? Yeah. One day we'll see an completely original franchise spawn out of Bethesda's lab there. I think that'd be awesome. But either way, great interview. Strongly recommend you read it. Regardless of whether or not you're playing Fallout 4 right now or not. Just definitely check it out.
Yeah.
Super good. Wanted to recommend a couple of reviews that were pretty, spoiler free. I have to say, if you're like me, like I didn't watch any of these reviews until afterwards. In fact, I didn't even watch either of them. I listened to them because I didn't want to see any footage. I just wanted to hear the people's opinions, and I strongly recommend that you consider doing the same if you're someone who doesn't want locations and set pieces to be spoiled, because to me that actually means a lot. I'm one of those people who's like, don't show me whatever happens with that giant floating air balloon we saw in the E3 trailer. I don't want to see anything about that.
Yeah.
But we've got 2 linked down in the description below, one from the Lone Vault Wanderer and also the IGN review. Dan Stapleton, I thought, did a very good job in his text review of the game. Also a great way to read a review of a game without having anything be spoiled for you. Those are really our 2 recommended ones.
Yeah.
And
then Lone revealed, I wanted to mention this, Lone revealed that he had an early copy and he had put in 40 hours beforehand, but he couldn't say anything, of course.
Yeah, I know him and Maddie also had an early copy, so they both got some pretty chunky time to play the game before they did the reviews.
I'm a little envious. But,
we'll catch up eventually.
Mm-hmm. It seems like we already are, because we're not focused on making quick singular guides yet.
Yeah, this is true.
And I don't think I'll ever get to that point. Like, I still want to do, we're going to do the Scavenger Squad. I like the name of that. We're going to do that still. But it'll be like 3 to 5 things instead of just one. Because this one thing, especially if the video is a long duration, like, I don't see the necessity of that myself.
Yeah, I've personally never been like, I'm not eager to, just because I like found one item to like throw in people's face, be like, this is how you get that. I mean, to me it's just not my style. It's not my style, which is why, I'm having trouble considering like what am I actually gonna do for the guys. But right. I definitely have other things that I'm thinking about instead. I'll just have to think harder and hopefully come up with some more want to say original, but more interesting ideas. Plus, like you said, we're doing with the
Yeah.
scavenger guide. I think that's gonna be fun because like the scavenger guides, you know, the way that you kind of built that and the way that we're gonna go about that, I feel is like it's almost like a lore type, like in-game world thing. You know, like hey, you know, we're scavengers. We help you find the best scavenging spots for a price. Watch our 15-second ad. You know, but if we were in the wasteland, we totally charge you caps for all the best locations. You know,
That's
it's got like a bit of role play to it. I totally dig it. Last but not least for the news, if you are on iOS or Android, there is actually a Fallout chat keyboard that came out before the launch of Fallout 4. Basically lets you text message cool Fallout gifts and things to all of your friends. So if you want to drive your girlfriend / wife / boyfriend absolutely crazy and let them know that you are not going to be doing anything for the next several days other than playing Fallout, you can also do it through text message. Yeah, so check that out. And that does it for the news, though. Let's go ahead and move into the meat of today, which is just a big, fat set of discussion topics. Honestly, some of these topics are probably going to be redundant because we're just going to be talking about everything. But really, I just wanted to put them up on screen for you guys so you have a general idea of what we will be rambling about. First thing that I actually want to talk about, because we talked about this back when we pre-Fallout 4 PIPCAST. I think, like, you know, the PIPCAST is kind of going to be like the Bible now. There's like, you know, before Christ and after Christ. It's before Fallout 4 and after Fallout 4.
The Old Testament and New Testament of the
Testament. So we talked about hardcore mode in Fallout New Vegas a lot. We did get something along that line in Fallout 4. It's called survival difficulty. I've been playing it playing on it a bunch. I talked about it in my first impressions that you guys will have already saw by the time this went up. And yeah, I mean, I like that. You know, I don't feel like I said, when we talked about it in New Vegas, like the whole water consumption thing wasn't necessary because you ended up getting that damn, you know, canteen anyways, like totally canceled it out. So they didn't go that route. Basically, all it does is it means that anything you would consume, stim packs, food, water, to increase your HP, it happens over time. And then your difficulty setting by default is the very hard setting. So that's survival difficulty. And I've actually been enjoying it. It's not nearly as hard as I thought it was going to be. Like it's a good challenge, you know?
Well, the healing over time thing though, that happens in normal difficulty.
Well, it's like
too.
extra slow is what it is.
Oh, extra.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's like,
so you actually take time to
yeah,
heal,
it takes like forever. Like one stim pack, like if you're at like 1 health and you pop a stim pack, it's like your chances of surviving, even if you can run away for like 2 minutes, are very slim. It's pretty slow. I mean, you can do, it's definitely slow. Take that in combination with how, you know, the rads work now. The fact that they eat away like half your health bar, you know, if you let it run down low
that's a really cool system. I'm really enjoying.
I love that, you know. Radiation before like didn't mean anything. Like it was kind of just like to me, it's like I look back like, okay, you got rad sickness for like missions usually from, you know, from Moira. It's the only time I remember ever having a concern about radiation, unless, you know, you went in places where it was like so severe that it did kill you.
If you tried to hoof it to Vault 87.
Yeah, you know, you get slaughtered. But now it's like
you have to. Yeah.
It's like a huge part of your decision making process. Like I was thinking about it today because I swam across the one creek and I ended up like I already had significant radiation poisoning that I had been ignoring, admittedly.
Oh yeah.
And it got far worse. Yeah. And I get to the other side and then I realize, oh, I'm in a combat situation. I have half my health bar and I have no rad away. So there's like this small element of like, you know, tactical decision that goes into like, do I swim across? Do I take the long way? You know. Not to mention when enemies are physically attacking you like radiated ghouls, you know, they're actually doing radiation on top of regular damage.
Yeah, glowing ones will heavily irradiate you.
I've lost entire suits of power armor because of that, so they don't mess around. So pretty stoked about the way they did the difficulty and stuff. I mean, yeah, it just feels like I was talking to my brother about. He's playing on very hard, not not survival, but it just makes you like play a little bit smarter. Like it never like I'm gonna say this, and the game never hands you like enemies that are bullet sponges just because you're on the harder difficulty. I've noticed it's just like you know they mostly hit harder, you know they're more lethal, and you know you can just more easily be swarmed. Like I've been killed by a pack of mole rats already because it's just like you get overwhelmed easily, and
you can. And
I think a big part of that is like the fact that everything can ambush you now. Like
just about
like
you remember the rad scorpions of the past didn't pop out of the ground.
Right. I went into a small hut. Right? Because my dog was like, there's something over there. And you would have never thought there was a red scorpion like hiding in this corner of this hut under these two chairs. But there it was, like popped out. And I'm like, it was the first time I saw a red scorpion. was probably the single best introduction into the game ever. It was so good.
Yeah. There's several enemies that that you guys are going to come across too that pop out of the ground or just come out of nowhere, and it may I've jumped a couple times. One was a mirelurk came out of the ground right next to me. I was like, holy crap!
You're right. They like rush out of the water. The ghouls, I mean, are like the ghouls are kind of like modern day. What's that film with the guy? He's the last dude, Will Smith. They remade it. I Am Legend.
Yeah,
you know, it's like that, like with the ghouls, man. They're freaking everywhere. Like they're insane. I'm so stoked on how they did with that, but I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more as the PIPCAST goes on. Let's talk a little bit about character builds. I know we wanted to talk about ours. Definitely ask people to share theirs, but I think there's also a discussion we can have in general about how we feel about the perk system and how that, you know, everything's kind of been handled there and how we're approaching it as individuals. Because it's like, I know you said this too, Kato, and my brother felt the same way. Everybody I've talked to pretty much feel the same way. It's like the start of the game, no matter how much planning we had, it's like everything just felt like an absolute mess.
Yeah, that's how it went. Like that's why I continuously said like I'm not going to make plans until I'm there.
Yeah,
kind of thing, because like you can't plan ahead for something, especially an entirely new just leveling system even. You can't really plan for that. So
yeah, I mean,
I was just like, well, I'm gonna see what I can do with a limited amount of points. I'm sure I can get bonuses elsewhere, and it's true, you can get bonuses from other things. So.
Yeah, you know, tons of comics and guides and stuff that I picked up already for, you know, extra bonuses and perks all over the place. And a big thing too for me was like, you know, even when I did start to see like a path as to how, okay, like maybe I go here, maybe I go there. It's like as you're playing the game, then, you know, the game then influences like what you want to do. It's like for a while, you know, I was completely set on like, I'm going to go this route. And then all of a sudden I like start seeing, you know, certain items and like dealing with certain enemies. And I'm like, man, I'd really like to do that too. And now I've kind of just accepted the fact it's like, you know, this game is ridiculously huge. I'm not even really concerned. I'm just going to put the points wherever I want them. Like, I don't feel like I'm going to end up with a dead character. Like there was always that concern in Skyrim. Like if you spread yourself too thin, you know, you'd kind of shaft yourself. Because the game doesn't really take, you know, that same full Skyrim, like, you know, type approach, you know, you can still be effective, you know, outside of having some of the perks, you know, the way they've done it. It's like a lot of those core perks, like the increases to, you know, like your pistol damage or rifle damage, you know, they're kind of like at the lower end. So it's easy to spend points in them whenever you need them.
Well, unlike Skyrim too, like the perk system on Fallout 4, it doesn't have a prerequisite of having the perk underneath it. Like you can just get your attribute to that point, and then you can go, like say you have 7 strength, you can get the tier 7 if you meet the requirement, the level requirement.
Yeah, exactly.
Without getting all the ones before it.
Yeah, it lets you, you know, pick and choose which ones you like out of each section. And you notice that they built it like that too, because you'll see perks within trees that are totally unrelated, you know.
Yeah.
Like you don't really, you know.
Yes.
You know, it's like sometimes there's a perk in perception. It's like, why would I ever want that perk? But 3 perks down, you know, there is one you totally want. So I like what they did with it. You know, I don't think it's.
And I'm probably going to discuss that more with my build.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. So actually, yeah, go ahead. Let's. You want to kick it off? Talk about your build a little bit, at least how it currently exists.
Sure. Yeah, my character. Are you gonna have the screens?
Yeah, I'll make sure you guys can see our stats and everything. I'll have them side by side for you, so you can kind of just look at both of ours at a glance.
So my character's strength endurance oriented, and he is a brawler type. He's got you know points in Iron Fist, and he's a punchy fella. And my original intent was building a strength, endurance, agility, but then I realized that perception, in the perception part of the tree in perks, is demolitions expert. And usually the way I went in previous Fallout games was unarmed explosives, because you needed something to close the gap between you and your enemy before you just, you know, charge them and punch them, because, you know, sometimes it doesn't work if the enemy's got a fat man or a minigun, you know? So I think it's like tier 5 or 6 to get demolition expert for perception, which is kind of ridiculous if you want to be super effective with explosives. But also, they are already pretty effective like before you even put any points into it. So like if you end up with the materials to make a bunch of Molotov cocktails, like just go with that. It should be fine.
Yeah, they definitely mess you up. I've been dismembered brutally, I should say, by at least 3 bottle cap mines in very inconspicuous places so far.
Yes. The mines themselves, all the traps too, are very, very well hidden a lot of the time. The only one I actually saw without setting one of them or all of them off was a laser tripwire that was in like just in the light, so you could easily see.
Yeah, that's the only thing I've ran into as well. The bottle cap mines, it's like rather than being stuck on the floor and stuff, now they put them on like shelves. Like they're on the countertops. They look like, regular lunch boxes.
Yep. And you get too close, you're just like, oh no.
Yeah, I have not been able to sprint away from one of those yet. Like lost my head, lost my leg and my arm the one time. Yeah, it's brutal, man. Absolutely brutal.
But yeah. So I don't know if you were going to bring up the perks too on the Pip-Boy screen, but I ended up going with kind of just a brute type setup for perks. So and a single brute. I got the Lone Wanderer perk, which I think that's in it's a low perception tier.
Yeah.
Or a low charisma tier, I mean. Which increases your damage resistance and also your carry weight if you don't have any companions with you. So I have 2 ranks of that, which means I think it's like 15% damage resistance and plus 100 carry weight. So it's ridiculous. It's really good if you don't want companions at all. And then you also get perks on the books you read throughout the game too, which is really nice.
Yeah, there's some good.
And then,
good bonuses within those things all over the place. That's for sure.
And you saw my character; he's got the bowler cap on and skull bandana, and some goggles, and the bladed knuckles is what I prefer to use, and a combination of metal and leather armor.
Like a brawler.
A bowler.
A bowler brawler.
So what about you?
So mine is
being in survival difficulty too. You have to choose carefully.
Yeah, I'd say right now it's like a lot of my. Overall my statistics, I've got a lot in perception. I've got 7 in perception and 7 in agility. Like I spent a lot of points in those from the get-go. And I ended up spending, I think, 1 additional point in each just for like long term. My endurance is pretty crap, and in fact, in the screenshot you guys are seeing, I'm actually addicted to buff out because
I did that
super
too.
Mutants and carrying stuff. I did get that fixed though, so it's better now. But basically, endurance at 2, strength at 5. It's like really the only thing for strength for me is like long term. I just haven't wanted to put the points in there. Is like to get the pack mule thing. It's like otherwise strength. Yeah. There's not like a whole lot there. A lot of it is melee focused. The nice thing about strength though was the armor mods.
Armorer, yeah.
I've been spending quite a lot of points, and if we take a look at my perks, you guys can see I've got 2 level 2 armorer, barbarian from a book. I've got covert operations from a book. I've got level 2 on the gun nut, level 2 on gunslinger, because pistols have just been like my savior. Like I have the first legendary that I got was like only like 2 hours into the game. I got a legendary energy damage weapon that turns people like green goop. So I customized that thing. That thing has a ton of damage now. It's like does more damage than anything in my inventory. So plus, I rolled that with the gunslinger, and that's helped a lot. Locksmith, just because I hate leaving locks. I hate leaving locked things, locked boxes.
Yeah, and then thinking you're going to come back, and in reality you're not, because it's just too big of a world, man.
I think I might actually come back this time though. It's like I've been making conscious like notes and stuff on the map that I have. Pulled out like some sticky notes because it's like there's actually something I talked about in the first person. Is like for some reason it's like the world just like I like in Fallout 3 in New Vegas I never went back anywhere. It was like screw it, I don't care. Yeah. I'll never come back. But there's something about like Fallout 4, like I love the location so much that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go back. I'm definitely gonna go back and get that. Like, I'll go back eventually and get that. So I'm working my way towards master with the lock. That's the plan to get that. Also rifleman, because I do use like all of my primary like 2-handed weapons are all single fire. I'm not gonna really do anything automatic at this point. So definitely spending more points in rifleman, not just for the sniper rifle, increased damage. Then I've got like the plasma rifle. And a couple other single shot, like the assault rifle that I have is single shot, so I picked that up. And then I went with Scrapper because I feel like that's mandatory. to have Scrapper. If you're going to make any mods, you get increased. Level 1 gives you like increased screws and stuff that you find.
Oh, I don't have that. I should probably get
Yeah,
that.
super helpful. It definitely makes a difference. I've been able to make so many mods because of that. And I took one in Medic because being on survival mode, it's like the more health and the more, radiation curing I can get from Radaway and Stimpaks. I was like, yes, give me those two.
Yeah. So we should talk about the cons as well as the pros for our builds too, because you're of course gunslinger focused, while mine is brawler focused. So what do you think would be like the downside? Like what have you had trouble doing as your role? I mean, minus the difficulty you have it set up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like kind of hard to tell right now. I think the biggest thing really is like, yeah, I mean, it's the fact that I can't like engage in serious like close quarters combat. Like if I do anything like that, it's like, I have to like have a shotgun out. And even then, it's like I found myself using the sniper rifle in close quarters because I actually do more damage with it currently, just because the way things are set up. But it's like melee is like out of the question for me. Number one, I don't have like any real health or damage bonuses, like defense bonuses with my setup. So I'm super squishy close quarters on top of playing in the harder difficulty. So it's like a double whammy. I imagine if I took like the bonus health and the bonus defense that are like super early in the tree, like the bonus defense I think is, I'd probably be better off close quarters. But right now this build's like 5 foot pole everywhere I go. Just stay back.
Yeah.
Don't come near me.
And what about other things like settlement building and interacting with people in the world and stuff like that?
It hasn't been terrible, I guess, with I've actually had a lot of successful speech things, despite the fact that I don't have that much going on. I'm sitting at like 2 in charisma.
You're less than me.
Yeah.
What? Man, I've had one success.
I've actually had a lot of successes. Like, it's insane. Like, I'm kind of shocked when I realized, like, when I looked back and I was like, I like rolled a double success on the one, and I was like, really? I'm like, man. I'm like, what's my charisma at again? I look and I'm like, it's 2. I'm like, I must be the luckiest man alive right now because holy crap. But yeah, I actually have failed quite a few. I guess mostly when I go into conversation now, I just kind of like plan for the fact that I'm probably not going to persuade them. It's like it's probably not going to happen, so I'll just leave it at that. What was the other thing you mentioned? I lost for thought here.
Just
settlements, yeah.
Stuff.
I mean, the only thing that I miss out on that I'm missing, like settlement wise, like my settlements are actually going really good. I've only been focusing like on the main one. That's like almost going to be like 100% happiness. Like I built everything's fine there. The problem is like you have traders that show up. I've noticed even without putting up the trading post, but they're terrible. Like this one lady who runs a route from Diamond City to my place, she's pretty much there all the time it seems now. Like, and she sells stuff, and she's crap. Like her prices are insane. She gives you nothing, and she has nothing. I'm like, I need 5mm ammo for my minigun. She never has any. So the biggest thing I think is not having that born leader perk. So I can't set up the the kiosks. I really wanted.
Oh, the local leader.
Yeah, the local leader.
Yeah,
I want to do that, but at this point, I'm like, that's like when I finish the main story, I'll start dumping points in there. I'm not really worried about it right now, but
that's the trouble I'm having too. Is getting my settlement to where I want it, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I've taken up residence at the Red Rocket, and started building up from there. But yeah, it's still just kind of a player home. That's where it's gonna stay for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I've just accepted that it's gonna be like an end game thing for me. That there's no rush, which I like. It's like initially when I first started doing the settlements, I felt like maybe there's gonna be some concern to having like a low happiness, but it's not. Nothing happens. It's just
they just make it known that they're unhappy.
Yeah.
When you walk around.
Yeah, if you ever visit them, like
they're just like, man, I hate sleeping on the floor.
There's a dude at the one drive-in, right? They wanted me to go settle it, so I settled it, and then some guy shows up like right away, like one settler. I'm like, what are you doing here? Like I just cleared this out, and I felt bad, so I planted one gourd on the ground and then assigned him to it and then left. There's no beds. He hasn't slept. He's just been tending to what will be the greatest gourd known to mankind. So yeah, that's a fun system. I like how there's not like excessive sense of urgency. Nothing actually bad happens, if you don't. But if you do spend the time with it, there's obvious rewards. So it's like, it's a good balance for sure.
There's going to be rewards because vendors sell legendary weapons.
Yeah, so, it's like I wanted that. Like I had the money. It was the first thing I was going to do when I had 300 caps was I was going to put down a trader outpost. I was like, I'm going to do it. And then I'm the like born leader. I'm like, wait, what? What do I need? I'm like, damn it.
Yep. Oh, you gotta be charismatic and have the related perks, which kind of sucks, especially when you need to survive more so. But one of the major cons that I've been running into was having a low intelligence character. It's not like a majorly horrible thing, because intelligence doesn't. There's no skill points, so you don't have to worry about skill point gain. But the downside is you get way less experience, because my intelligence is 3 on my character. So you get way less experience from combat, from doing just about everything. So you level a lot slower.
So yeah.
So I'm not having too much difficulty, but there are enemies that I've been finding that have the skull next to their name, and they are very tough to kill, and also destroy me pretty quickly. So, and they're not legendaries at all. They
just happen to be out leveling you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's rough.
But I don't think there's too many other downsides. But it really depends on what you're doing. Like I've been having trouble with settlements and stuff like that too. And now that you mentioned it, I'm going to have to get that was it Scrapper?
Yeah, the Scrapper perk. That's totally worth getting. I think the second level on it too. I forget the second level though, but it gives you a bunch more stuff. You get like more whatever, another type of part. It's just
Yeah, because I work a lot with a leather armor. I need adhesive like all the time. But it seems like adhesive is important for everything.
Yeah, that's true. You need it for just about everything. I haven't like been to the point where I'm low on it yet though. For me, it's like always really random stuff that I seem to run low on, like springs, or I was like low on copper for a while, but that's because I was doing a lot of wiring for the houses. And also not realizing until I did a little bit more research for the guide I did for the building stuff, that you can actually store items rather than just scrap them, and then bring them back up again.
Yeah.
Because I was just
and also something that should be known about the settlements too. When you break stuff down, those materials are just at that settlement unless you physically grab them and move them to another. So keep that in mind too. Because I was like. I was at a different settlement setting up defenses, and I'm like, I totally have a crap ton of circuit boards. What is going on here? And so I went back to my home base and grabbed all of them, or figured it out first, and built like four turrets just because I could, and then went back with a bunch of circuit boards, and I was like, oh, okay, now I can build turrets, kind of thing. So you gotta keep in mind that those building materials stay where you are building.
Yeah.
Or where you break the stuff down at. So you have to move them from those tables to the others.
All right. What else we got on here? Let's see. Those character builds and it being everywhere.
Combat
versions?
versions?
Let's talk about combat. I mean, this is something that's obviously changed quite substantially.
Oh yeah.
Quite substantially across the board. I mean,
something.
Just the actual, physicality of engaging in combat, whether you're doing melee or, actually shooting, has been completely altered. And we talked about this a little bit in the past. Obviously Bethesda was keen to make a big change to this because of how terrible it was in Fallout 3. And they looked to id. Id helped them. I guess there was an article I remember reading, I sent to you, Kato, too, that, took inspiration from Destiny, which I think you can't really pick a better place, anything Bungie related. And I think it shines through. I mean, I enjoy now, just standard first-person shooter combat as much as I enjoy the VATS stuff. And they kind of both have their own place, because there are plenty of instances, especially with the sniper rifle I've noticed, where, obviously VATS isn't going to let you engage, at level 15 with the setup I have, at a stupid, insane range. But if you go out of VATS, you can gladly burn some action points to hold your breath, and you can land critical hits while, crouched, from insanely far away. And that's pretty much been my go-to for slaughtering super mutants. Stay away from the baseball bats they carry, because they don't like me very much.
The boards.
Yeah, the stupid wooden boards they carry around.
You'll get slapped around a bit.
Yeah, so I've been staying well out of my way, and it's actually funny to like see, because if you engage the super mutants from really far away, they totally just panic and start firing like blindly in your direction, and it's completely comical. It's like, I'm way over here. Where you guys shooting?
The enemy AI actually seems more intelligent. I want to say
they seem more alive, at least. You know,
Yeah,
they make
yeah.
mistakes and they do things that don't make sense in panicky situations.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do relocate a lot. I was clearing out the one like station with super mutants in it, and I just kept pot shotting them in the face, and I kill like their leader, who happened to be a legendary guy. He falls on the ground. The other two guys like completely just relocated after that, and I'm like, where the hell did they go? And they actually had healed up on top of that. Like, they were both at like no health. They actually healed, and they completely moved to the other side of like the area that I was in. I was kind of shocked. So that was pretty cool to see them actually, you know, number one, healing, and going somewhere else.
Yeah, and avoid. I will mention that there are suicide super mutants also.
Oh, they're my favorite.
That will rush you and then blow themselves up.
Yeah, best thing you can do is shoot at them once, and they'll pull out the mini nukes, and then shoot the mini nuke.
Yeah. Or just throw a Molotov at them.
Just
that works
burn
too.
them. Kill it with fire. That's super satisfying, though. I love the one guy like had one. I was like, can I shoot it out of his hand? And it didn't show up in VATS, so I just like scoped it and I shot it, and he blew up and killed like 2 of his friends. Like, oh my god, this is so good.
Isn't that awesome?
This is way too cool right now. It's just like, you know, shooting grenades back in Fallout 3 and stuff out of the air is just 10 times better. Also, yeah, completely hilarious how they actually rush you like a football player with it all tucked in under their arm.
Yeah,
Just a suicide shit.
it's like they remember something almost, except they're going to blow up after not getting a touchdown.
There will be no party dance in the end zone this time.
Nope.
Overall, yeah, it's like, you know, outside of actual feel of combat, obviously that's been improved. Like the sound effects, the way guns, everything like just functions is way over the top. You know, the engagements I've been in have just been really satisfying. Like we said, you know, the enemies seem to be like much more knowledgeable of where they are. Like I've tried, and I've had very little luck actually trying to cheese any of the enemies, like getting them stuck in a corner or something like that. Including that Deathclaw that I fought in the basement, where I thought, like, for sure, if I just tried to cram myself in a corner, I could somehow screw it over, because any other Bethesda game, that would totally work. Like, you'd totally be able to just mess with the Deathclaw. And instead, it did is it left. It was like, well, I'm not going to fight you then. If you're going to hide in the corner, I'm going to go someplace where you can't shoot at me. So it just wandered away. So I had to, like, run out of the corner, shoot it a bunch of times, and then run back to my corner until it left me, try and heal up a little bit if I got swiped at all. And then run back out and engage it again. It was
It seems like Deathclaws are like rare boss types too. Like you just see. I've only encountered 2 so far. Like once at the start.
Yeah.
And then at a raider camp of all places. And I was like, oh crap, what do I do? Because of course, you know, one swipe, there goes half your health. Even as a brute type character. And I had to take it out with bottle cap mines. Like, there was no other way I could deal damage to it.
Yeah, they're insane. I mean, I took... The one that I killed in the basement was 9 missiles, all of my 10mm pistol ammo, about 400 rounds of laser rifle ammo. What else did I have in me? Double barrel shotgun. They're pretty just about all of that, and then I finally finished it off with a sniper rifle round with 308 sniper round. So yeah, and they one shot like me. Like the only time I would get slight damage is if they did like a far away attack and I kind of got glanced at while I was sprinting, but otherwise it was an animation kill every time they grabbed me. Like you pick me up, shake me in the air, and then cut my head off with this claw, and I was just like, wow, dude, it's brutal. But yeah, they definitely seem much rarer. Yeah, just in general, pretty freaking awesome. The only thing that I've ran into that's been, I'd say, equally as challenging, not because, like, as an individual, because of groups, are the Yaoguai. Like, every time I've run into Yaoguai, it's been groups of, like, 2 or 3. And, yeah, they're just...
I've run into one, like, groups of 1s and 2s, but that's it so far.
Yeah, I found a bunch that, like, they literally were feasting on a ton of Brahmin they just slaughtered. And I'm just like, why do I hear a bear? Like, what sounds like a bear? And then I turn around and there's Yaoguai.
It's like, oh crap!
I'm dead.
Another thing you don't really want to deal with. So I wanted to talk about just general mechanics to start with. In the combat itself, so they have the halting breathing thing for sharpshooting, right? And does that take AP?
Yeah, burns
when-
action
when you do
points.
that?
Yeah.
Okay. And okay, so you got that, and then you also got the pistol whip slash gunman melee, and then that button also is your grenade key, where you hold it down and you whatever grenade you have equipped, you get ready to throw it, and then you throw it without having to unequip your weapon, which is really nice. So grenades and explosives are equipped separately now. Which is so nice, especially for the archetype that I usually play. And that same button is your melee power attacks. So that button has like 3 uses,
Yeah.
depending on what you're going with. So with melee weapons and unarmed weapons, it's the power attack button. So you have your basic attack with the standard attack button, and then your grenade key is your power attack button when you tap it. So and that expends AP also. They have the sprinting mechanic, which I don't know how well it's incorporated into gunplay. I mean, I'm sure it's good for running from one location to another. But for melee, you can perform sprinting power attacks. So you sprint towards an enemy and then hit the attack button. You're gonna hit them for a lot of damage, possibly one-shot them, like I have been. So, I've been sprinting up to enemies and just uppercutting them. It works really well with a bladed knuckles. It's pretty
Yeah, they
great.
fit a lot of stuff on one button, probably for the sake of the controller users.
Most likely, yeah. But I like how that worked out actually. I've heard a little bit of complaints from modders. I was watching Gopher's video on his complaint about the loot button and it not binding properly at all.
To
Like it's the activate / loot button.
Yeah.
So like everybody knows that button. But on the keyboard it's the E key. He wanted to change it to right alt, and he was able to do that with accessing terminals and was it picking up items just sitting somewhere. But as soon as he opened a container, it would switch back to the E key. So that's something that he was pretty frustrated about.
super weird. But yeah, I don't know. That's really strange. It must just be a small. Yeah, I don't know. That is, I guess, the instance when that's a problem. Whenever you have like a multi, button written in code to like anything, is that if you don't make corrections for all of the different situations, it could. Yeah, that's super weird. But yeah.
So what else is there on the gunplay stuff? We covered the sounds. Sounds are great. Overheating on at least miniguns.
Yeah, that's right. Before miniguns are kind of just running out of ammunition. Now they overheat. If you can ever actually obtain enough ammo to overheat it. I'll be completely honest. After the first initial mission, finding 5mm ammo for the minigun is like pulling teeth. At least at this point in the game, I haven't found like anything at all. But I'm sure that'll get better over time. Right now, it's like all the traders just like no one sells anything. Literally, I bought 4 rounds off of a woman. Why would you selling 4 rounds of 5mm ammo?
Yeah,
I was like, I thought maybe it was
that's the wasteland.
it was like boxed or something, and I like buy it, and I'm like,
Would you like 5 bullets?
Yeah.
Have 5 bullets.
sure, that'll do nothing.
They're even in a magazine for you. But it's just 5
Just
bullets.
5 bullets. Yeah, I mean, not much else, iron sights, like all the different optics and stuff I think are great. Like I think they handled them really well for all the different weapons. I have to say the one thing I wish they would have done, and I know this is actually a pretty taxing thing performance-wise, is 3D scopes. Which, the idea that a scope actually is just like looks like a real scope and you don't have to go into like a black screen. It's fine on the sniper rifles. I think we're kind of used to that, but I put like short scopes and stuff on my like laser rifles and my assault rifle, and like you'd expect it to kind of just be like an extra little scope that you could stay, but the idea of then like having a black screen when you're in like significant combat is like no bueno. So I'm like, no, back to the red dot. But that is what it is. Otherwise, it's like I dig what they did with that.
The explosives too, like just the explosive effects, and man, so much fun. I've run into, I don't know if you've run into these, Tony, also, but it's not necessarily a combat mechanic, but it's more of a trap mechanic. The traps are a lot more cleverly placed.
Like the monkeys.
Are they actual
Dude,
traps?
yeah, they
'Cause-
set off like a number of different things. I ran into a monkey
Yeah.
that set off an electrical pulse thing on the side of a building that zapped me.
I ran into like 3 of them and they didn't do anything. They
Yeah,
just, did their stupid.
I had one in the basement that was a
Simple
a
thing.
bomb during one of the faction missions, which killed me while I was in power armor. I was just looking at the monkey. I'm like, "Hey, monkey!" and his eyes are like starting to light up, and then all of a sudden he explodes. So I think they're like trip pads, like a pressure plate, as long as they're hooked up to something. Yeah, but the other one was a monkey sitting at like the back steps of a house, which was all locked up, and it had like enemy icons in it. So I'm trying to figure out how to get into it, and I just look at the monkey and I'm like, oh, what's this gonna do this time? I'm like, I don't see anything, or I'll just stand here and see what happens. And there was a Tesla coil like on the wall that started electrocuting me. So
Yeah.
definitely.
But the explosive indicator is a lot better, I would say. Like when somebody throws an explosive at you and stuff like that. But also like if there's a car or vehicle that's triggered to explode, that'll also show up.
Thank goodness, because car explosions are like
just in case there's one on fire behind you,
like small
'Cause
nuclear
that's happened to me a few
explosions.
times.
They're
Yeah.
huge. It's crazy. I didn't realize that could happen until there was just a car on fire in the one town. Didn't think anything of it. Walked past it, saw the indicator, was like, oh, wonder what's gonna happen to it. And then it blew up. And it was like, oh.
It's got a fusion core. That's what happens.
Yeah, good to know for the future. That's for sure.
Also, I don't know if I should mention this or not. When you're facing off against an enemy with power armor, their core can overload if you hit them in the right spot.
Yeah, there's those like early on. They that's like one of the
And it's awesome.
That's one of the tooltips that shows up on the screen. Like I haven't actually ran into any robots yet that have had that, but they talk about how they can.
No, power armor.
Oh,
power
you're
armor.
talking about
enemies.
power hammers. I know some of the one robot they're talking about also has one, I guess, that can overheat instead. So it,
Oh, the robots.
so it has to cool down. I saw on the tooltips, and I was like, oh, I have to remember that.
It's pretty good.
Some of those heavily armored ones, they have like freaking like rocket launcher minigun setups.
Yeah.
Like I said, I haven't had to fight one yet, but when I do, I'm gonna try and wait till it overheats and then kill its core from behind or something. I'm sure that'll end well.
Anyway, the landmines are more cleverly placed. We kind of went on a tangent for a bit. There was several occasions where I would set off a landmine right next to a car, and there was no other mines around, just right next to the cars, and I sustained quite a bit of damage over time just because of that.
They were very well placed. I started anything that looked like it was kind of gonna be defended. I started vatsing it, like spamming VATS.
Yeah.
I'm like, if there's a landmine, I'm gonna find it before I step on it.
You can VATS landmines?
Yes, can.
That's
That's
awesome.
how I've been like taking him out from afar with my pistol so far. Is like VATS it 70%, shoot it, blow it up.
Dude, I'm glad put that in the pro tip thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're like, what was it? The one town I was in, I was fighting ghouls for like 4 times. I died, went back to the exact same place and was fighting ghouls, and had no idea that I was like literally treading in between landmines until I go to backpedal and kite one of the ghouls, and I blow up, and I'm like, someone threw a grenade at me. They must have. So I reload the game, and then this time I VATS, and it accidentally locks onto a landmine. I was like, that explains it.
Wow.
Landmine there the whole time that I just somehow danced around.
Yeah.
It's pretty hilarious.
But I really like in the since we're kind of in the combat impressions still, things just seemed a lot smoother, like just way smoother. Like just animations in general. It's not clunky to get around, especially like closing in on your enemy or removing yourself from a combat situation. It's a lot smoother. It's a lot easier to do.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, you see it just in like the combat alone. All the creature animations, like,
Yeah.
everything's been taken like to the next level. The only thing I wish they would do, this is something that I wish every game would do, is like I like having a jump button. Right, there's nothing wrong with the standard jump button, but the ability to mantle over objects to me is just like so vital in modern gaming, and like few people do it. Because that's where I've had the biggest issues, is like I'm in a scenario
like vaulting.
where I'm trying to run from someone, and instead of like climbing on top of a car, climbing over a box, climbing over a guardrail, you're just like an idiot spamming Y trying to like jump, and you get caught on like every single part of the hitbox for you and the object, and you never make it over, and then you die. But that's really it. I mean, that's just a matter of like I was in terrible situations
But
in the first place.
being able to crouch, like, you know, in one of the subway tunnels, and yes, there's subway tunnels. Being able to crouch and then you know, find out where a ghoul is, or where a ghoul is spawning, and then just break into a dead sprint. You can do that. You can go from crouch to a dead sprint without having to stand up, move, and then start running. Like, you can it can just be one fluid motion, and I'm okay with that. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Bethesda did was, I mean, number one, Fallout 3, you know, like even Fallout New Vegas with Obsidian, like that engine as a whole was just behind. Like the things we're talking about, they should just be here because modern gaming. But the cool thing too is Bethesda like did all of that, and then I think they went a little bit further. Like there was no reason to have any of these burrow-based creatures actually burrow under the ground. Like, to me, the fact they did that in an open world game, like, it's just such a, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, the games that I think of that have done that stuff like that and have done that well are like The Witcher, and that's it. Like, that's like that, you know, they've stepped into a territory that very few people have went into, where like they've focused on details, you know, that matter so much. And that's where I think you see it the most is combat, you know, like we said, with the way the enemies react in combat, burrowing underground, and like the Mirelurks, you know, popping out. Like, that's just so cool, man. So cool.
Yeah. And also like if you're fighting a burrowing enemy and you like go to a spot to where they can't get to you, they will stay burrowed until you come back down.
Yeah, they do not care.
That was me, the legendary Rad Scorpion, duking it out.
They have all the time in the world. You do not.
Died a couple times, yeah.
You do not. They're like, I'm waiting.
But that was pretty fun, pretty intense.
Yeah, I mean, combat's been immensely fun. Like, I've just thoroughly enjoyed getting into firefights. I like look for them, listen for them in the distance, like, ooh, who's shooting each other? Sucks I'm always out of ammo for the most part, but you know, when I do, it's fun to go engage.
See, if you play a melee character, you don't have to worry about it.
It's true.
You just
That's what that guy inside of the main city always tells me. He's standing there with his baseball bats, and he's like, "You never run out of ammo." I'm just like, yeah, no. It's too late for that.
You can do some pretty sick modifications to baseball bats too.
I was looking at some of the melee weapons, like just modding them just to kind of see their appearances, and like, yeah, some of the stuff you can do is absolutely insane. What I want,
I just can't wait for the Power Fist. I really want a Power Fist right now.
It's the Power Fist.
To see what I can do with it.
That military, like the the hand chainsaw, which has now been completely redesigned. That thing just it just looks insane, man. I saw it in like one of the loading screens. I'm like, oh my god, looks so cool. It's got like its little own arm guard, this big red like handle. I'm like, that looks utterly terrifying, and I totally want one, even though I really probably can't use it effectively.
Well, if you need to chop up some enemies after they're dead,
that's true. You know, I just want to be
haul 'em
Butcher
off.
Pete and roleplay as Butcher Pete. So let's talk a little bit performance, because I want to know how it's been for you on PC side. Like, Kato, like what frame rate are you been running the game on? Like, you know, have you been playing it relatively high, or I don't know what your rig was able to really run?
My rig has been doing fairly well. I think it's at like normal to high, between normal and high quality right now, and the game still looks gorgeous. Like, I cannot complain whatsoever for how the game looks and performs. I'm staying at a solid 60 FPS pretty much the whole time, unless I'm recording, which it drops down to 40, no big deal. But the very first thing, like all PC players should know this, make sure, and it's going to be in the description, pretty sure, that you need to update your NVIDIA drivers. Get the game ready NVIDIA driver that came out alongside Fallout 4, because a lot of the flickering stuff that I was having at the very start of the game was due to my drivers being out of date. So
yeah, it's definitely
like I was having issues with a lot of the was it not field of view, the fog effects, like a lot of the what's it called, the very first part of the game when you make your character, the background is kind of blurry,
like ambient occlusion and all that other stuff.
Yeah, kind of, yes, I think
Everything that
anyway
that, yeah.
like it was flickering really bad, like when I first started making my character, and clearly distracting from making my character. And then also, like, as I started progressing through the game and got to the settlement part, as soon as I started wanting to place things down, the screen would flash the UI color every once in a while, and it was probably like every 2 seconds or so, it would flicker, and I was like, ah, crap, I can't play like this. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And then I found out that it was the NVIDIA drivers. But otherwise, I mean, after telling NVIDIA to optimize it for me, because I don't really want to take the time to try to troubleshoot my way through, getting a game to work in the best possible way, and NVIDIA does a pretty good job at it. So, otherwise, I've been running pretty well. I have a Acer Predator. It's got a fairly decent like last year video card, and then 16 gigs of RAM, and it's and an i7 runs it pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. No complaints here after updating my NVIDIA drivers.
Yeah, definitely.
So how about console?
A must for PC gaming. Yeah, everything's been fine for me. I mean, it's 30 FPS on console, 1080p on both sides. I saw lots of reports like before the game launched, people talking about just like stuttering issues and things of that nature. But frankly, I haven't ran into any significant ones. There's obviously frame rate drops, should be expected. Like I'm surprised they managed to fit everything they did into this world in the first place and still have the game function. Considering the hardware that's on a console. But people were talking like 1 to 2 second hangups that they were seeing on Xbox One.
Ooh.
And some on PS4. I haven't ran into any of those, so I don't know if there was a small day one patch or something that sorted that. But I haven't had any issues at all. It's ran much better than Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas. Thank goodness.
Yeah. And the only time, I wanted to mention micro stutters, because a lot of people freak out about that pretty often too, like I do when I'm playing Fallout 3 and stuff like that. Because Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas both have micro stutters really bad. If you don't do something to remedy it with mods or script extender or whatever. So the only time I have micro stutters in my game is when I'm recording, and that's expected. So like I haven't had any problems whatsoever with micro stutters.
Yeah, that's good.
So
those are always
that's
super
good.
irritating. And Fallout 3, like you said, was ultra notorious for that stuff.
Yeah.
The point where
Skyrim did it once in a while too, actually. But it has to do with the open world loading too. Like when they're loading objects in, that I'm pretty sure that has directly to do with your RAM though also. And when I played Skyrim, I did not have that much RAM. I had 4 gigs, I think,
yeah, Fallout
or less.
Skyrim and Fallout are just, I was going to say, in general, they're games that seem to benefit from having high RAM, and then on console, they just stuttered just because console. Skyrim wasn't that bad, though, on Xbox 360. I remember it not being too terrible, but there were definitely enough of those moments where it was like, you did get micro stutters in certain areas, and it was like headache-inducing. But, luckily Fallout 4 seems much more... I think there's just, there was like this wave of like people like all of a sudden like, oh my god, the performance is like dreadful, and I'm just like, I don't agree that that's dreadful. I think it's far better than anything Fallout 3 or Skyrim ever had at launch, and I think considering the world that they've created, when you see how dense it actually is,
no kidding.
Like, I'm surprised when you go to the main city, Boston, like it doesn't just crash, dude. Like. There's so much.
Speaking of, has your game crashed yet?
Two crashes in total so far.
2 crashes. Yeah. Mine has not crashed once.
Yeah, mine crashed like I was literally just coming out of my Pip-Boy. The entire game just crashed. Went to dashboard. Then the second time, I think it was more so a combination of, because I'm in a beta test for the Xbox dashboard like all the time. It was a combination of that plus the game crashing. So really only one direct Fallout crash that was just totally out of nowhere, just crashed. But otherwise,
20 hours in,
20
one
hours
crash?
on crash. Yeah, that's not bad at all. So
20 hours no crash for me. That's pretty darn good too. So
yeah, so that's good. I mean, like I said, I'm just kind of like past the whole.
If there was anything that I personally was worried about, and that most people should be worried about, would be the stability of the game just in general, not any of the high specific requirements of graphics and stuff like that. Like your main expectation should have been, how stable is the game going to be so I can keep playing it for hours on end.
Yeah, as long as there's,
and it's met my criteria and then some. So
yeah, it's nice to play a Bethesda game without having the constant like in the back of your head, like every time something takes just a little bit too long. Did it freeze? Did it crash?
Yeah.
So I got over that in the first couple hours, because that crash that I had happened like 4 hours in. So after that, I was really like on edge. Like, oh, here we go. It's gonna start crashing all the time. Well, I'm gonna be one of those people who has, like, Skyrim PlayStation 3 levels of difficulties here, but
Oh, geez. Yeah.
no, it's been good, and it seems like no one's had those problems. So overall performance, I think they just killed it. It's a lot better than it's been. I want to talk actually about the graphics of the game, because this is something that like everyone, just had to complain about for some reason, and I think there's a funny, like, very narrow-minded train of thought that a lot of gamers have, a lot of people who critique games, whatever, have about what like great graphics are, right? And for most people, it means like crazy high poly count, crazy high resolution, like Witcher 3 stuff, right? And I completely disagree with that mentality. I think that's the dumbest thing ever. Like, there's no doubt that high poly counts, high texture, quality, that stuff's cool, right? But I think that a game can look absolutely stunning without, a focus on those. And I think Fallout 4 is like the prime example of that. The color palette in this game, my God, it's exceptional. Yeah. Like, I can't remember where a game was able to do the idea of post-apocalyptic, and still maintain, such an amazing color palette. Like, just because a nuke dropped how many years ago doesn't mean that the world suddenly becomes gray and white, as many games, including Fallout 3, would have us believe. So this
Well, Fallout 3 it's green.
Yeah, it's just green. They didn't even do any grays.
Green and brown.
Browns. Yeah. So I think they nailed it with, like, just all the color they used everywhere. Like, you see it, like, when you go into the main cities, you see it outside of the cities, like, things are colored in real life. Like, not everything is like brown and gray. Like, I saw shipping containers that were like turquoise, and I'm like, yes, that happens. Companies have their own colors for their shipping containers. Like, this is so gorgeous.
It has a familiar / realistic feel that a lot of all of the previous Fallout games did not have.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes the world feel 1,000 times more alive and interesting. Like, I've been drawn to locations on the map just because of those colors, just because I look over and I spot something in a corner of my eye and I'm like, oh, that looks, that just looks exceptional. It's like, to me, it's like Fallout 4 is one of the best looking games I've played in that sense. Like, it's not Crysis. Yeah. It's not going to, like, we're not sitting there like, can NASA run Fallout 4? Like,
yeah, it's not going to be photorealistic.
Like, we're not looking for that.
That's not what we're going for. We're not going for a reality show game.
Yeah.
We're looking for Fallout.
You want a game, that's what we you want a game that has art, it has personality, like, it has an art style that, it reflects its personality, and Fallout, I think, is just like the best example of that. Like, I hope that the next anything Elder Scrolls Bethesda does, can capture that same sense, because, like, to me, it just puts everything they've ever done to shame, like, visuals wise. I'm just like, this is just so many, like, everything, the colors, everything's just so memorable. Like, instantly, it just feels so alive, and the amount of detail in the world, mixed in with all of that, then it's just next level.
And I don't know how much you've noticed it too, but how things blend together really, really, really well. Like, for example, if you're going into a building, to like a wrecked building, one of the ones you can just open the door and walk right in. You see like a desk with a bunch of debris on it, but there's also stuff you can pick up. They blend in with each other, so you actually have to look.
Yeah, I've been confused at times as to what I could and couldn't pick up. I'm like, wait, is that like and then, like you said, they have, like, just folders laying around. Like, they've been very intelligent about what they put down.
And the collision windows are way, way smaller for items in containers and stuff like that too, which is really cool. Like, if you have a bunch, like, a Nuka-Colas in a box or something like that, you pick the box up, they'll stay in the box, no problem. And not like pop out of it.
Just explode for no reason. Physics failure.
Yeah.
Complete and utter physics failure.
So that's that part to me was really cool. And the scaling of the world and everything that inhabits it too. Like the scaling of both buildings and enemies and NPCs and stuff like that. Like, they all have what looks to me to be an appropriate size to what their role is, which is really cool.
Yeah, like we talked about that, like way before the game even came out, how they were aiming to focus on that, and the screenshot showed it. And like you said, being in the world, just like when you're in a back alleyway in Boston, you feel like you're in a back alleyway in Boston, not
Yeah.
in a game's rendition of a back alleyway in Boston.
Or like you walk up to one of the cars and it's one of the cars that's got the the door busted open, and you're like, I could probably fit in the driver's seat of that if I wanted to, because it's to scale.
Yeah, they nailed the perspective like everywhere you go, and I think that's another thing when you talk about that and like the world, the verticality. Like there's so many locations now in the world where like I've gone on rooftops. They let you go on rooftops. You think there's something up there. It's just because like, hey, there's a rooftop with a patio. Go sit on it. I have like
unlike Fallout 3 where the roofs just did not exist because you couldn't go up there. Now all the buildings almost have depth to them.
Yeah, I was hopping across the roofs.
Ascend all the way up.
I was hopping across the roofs in Boston, actually. Like, I got to the one roof, and I'm like, I'm just going to jump across rooftops. And I was just running across the rooftops, like, just having a good old time. I have this picture I took, too, like, one of the rooftops that I went out onto. I'll throw it up there for you guys. Honestly, I think this, like, exemplifies what we're trying to talk about with, like, the artwork of the game and then just, like, how well everything blends together in the overall design. But it was one of the small like raider buildings I cleared out, and I went on the roof and I'm sitting there. It's like right by the water, and you see in the distance all of in-game like property, like of the city. And like honestly, for a second when I looked at it, I'm like, dude, this looks like one of those fake screenshots for a game.
Yeah.
Like here's like, oh, here's our world, and like look at the it just looked like a piece of art. Like you see the sky and the cloud, like the world itself is just so well blended together. It's insane. Well done to Bethesda
stuff.
for sure.
I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone out there who isn't. Like, I can't wait for that one person, that one tiny no-name, article that someone writes to try and get big about, like, this is why Fallout 4 is the worst game of this generation. Somebody's going to write an article like that. They always do.
Yeah. And the disappointing part is people are still going to read it. They're still going to watch it, whatever format it's on or format it's in, because either to probably most of the time disagree with that person where it's still giving them attention regardless, or to give that person the benefit of the doubt that they're just trying to irritate the masses.
Yeah, at the end of the way, I mean they lose. Like, if they make $1 million on that article, they lose because they didn't play Fallout 4. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, that's
right. They lost. I mean, because right now at this point, I think like, when you played like Fallout 3, you played Skyrim. I mean, they felt like big games. There was no doubt, and I probably had a lot more time back when both those games came out to like sit down and play. But at the same point, it's like they felt it felt like when I was playing them, like there very much was an end in sight. Like, okay, I can kind of see where I'm gonna stop playing this. But Fallout 4 doesn't really have that. To me, I'm more concerned like, where am I gonna go tomorrow? Where am I gonna explore tomorrow? Where am I gonna explore a week from now? Like, there doesn't seem to be any end in sight. And I'm not just saying that because I feel like I don't know where the content ends. It's like, there is a progression in the story. You can see where it's going and things of that nature. But it's just the fact the world feels like so exceptionally rich that it's like, even when I've done everything, I feel like there'll be more than enough reasons just to hang out.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like when you look into the distance and you're just like, have I been there? I don't think I've been there yet. Or I don't think I've taken this path to here. Like, it's going to take a very long time, especially because I've already discovered several unmarked locations on the map that are still decent, like setups and settlements and stuff, and or little forts, and there's no way you can just quickly gloss over Fallout 4. There's no way you can just hang out in the Boston wasteland or drift through the main story without going a different direction.
Yeah, it's definitely, you'd have to have the most insane amount of self-constraint ever known to man to just like say no thank you to the really cool shiny looking location over there. Right? It's like turning down $100 because you're content with the $5 you're about to make over the next hour. No, don't
or like when we started the call before the PIPCAST started, I found this tower in the outer outskirts of the city. I'm just like, can I go to the top of that tower? And then of course I zoomed into the top of the tower, and it had like visual objects that I remember seeing, closer to the ground, and I'm like, holy crap, I bet I can get up there. And I did get up to the top of that tower, and I could see the entire city. It was ridiculous.
Awesomeness. All I could say is to every young child out there who's waiting to get this game for Christmas, don't worry. It will consume your entire Christmas break. There is no doubt about that. So hope for the worst possible weather and have fun when you do finally get your hands on it. We would definitely like to hear from all of you guys, your thoughts and opinions about the game. Please keep it spoiler free. I will gladly flag any comment that I feel is intentionally trying to ruin someone's enjoyment of the game or its story. Please, just there's no reason for that. Everybody who watches the PIPCAST seems to be pretty cool. I know you guys are going to do that, but any randoms who come in here, I will be vigilant. I have a phone. I can ban you from it, and I have it on me most of the day, so don't screw around.
He knows how to use it. That kind of thing.
And yeah, just stay. Yeah, don't spoil anything. No reason for that.
There's something I wanted to mention too, but I think I forgot it. It had to do with the guides we're gonna do. I am open to suggestions. How we're going to do the scavenger squad. Yeah, that's what we're calling it. What? Who am I? We're doing the scavenger squad, which is going to be the collab guides between myself, Tony Mo, and many other YouTubers on my channel. But what we want to know is, do you want a guide on a specific theme or specific types of stuff you can get in the Boston Waste? Because like, even though Tony and I are 20 hours in, we're still like racking our brains trying to figure out what would we do a guide on. Like there's so much stuff, you know. So I am more than open to hear different suggestions for that kind of thing. And I mentioned to Tony before the call too that I've been finding specific locations where there's a lot of specific scrap or junk resources for, you know, crafting and stuff like that. And that'll be good for a guide in the future. But I'm wondering what you guys think, like, you know, best spot to get legendaries to spawn, or, you know, bobbleheads is an obvious one. There's been so many other YouTubers that have already been doing that. And, you know, unique weapons, legendary uniques that, I don't know if we should call them that. Should we call them legendary uniques? Because they're given to you, but they have the legendary tag on them.
I feel like most of them like aren't actually uniques either, you know? They're kind of just like special versions of the weapons.
Yeah.
You still have like the actual uniques, you know, that we're seeing, like stuff like the junk jet, you know, and other things that are like, you know, more so actual unique weapons that do rare, like, you know, fire rare, you know, weapon types things and such. Mm-hmm. But
stuff like that,
legendaries.
Yeah, tips and tricks for survival, even, you know, stuff like that. If you guys have any suggestions, throw it down in the comments. I am totally open to hearing what kinds of 3 to 5 things. 3 to 5 of one theme is what we're going for these guides. So like, you know, if the subject was bobbleheads, for example, we'd be like, you know, 3 to 5 bobbleheads that are relatively close to each other, kind of thing. That's kind of the direction we want to go. So that's pretty much it.
All right. Also, if you guys haven't seen, Kato recently updated his channel art. You'll actually see his new avatar in the PIPCAST dashboard.
I almost forgot.
And it's looking pretty slick. So definitely, if you don't usually wander over to Kato's channel, you should definitely wander over there and stay there for a little bit, and then also check out his artwork while you're there.
So. Yeah, Nered was nice enough to do that again for me, and he also told me that if you need a different hat, because I'm wearing the boomer cap still, because I didn't know what kind of headwear we could get, and I'm almost tempted with the bowler cap, but I haven't experienced enough of Fallout 4 to decide yet. But I could swap it out if I wanted to, and you'd be happy to do that for me. So that's really cool. But
different hat for every day.
It was very timely for it's like a week before Fallout 4 that I got the new channel art, so that was pretty cool.
Right. Last thing you guys will probably see on the dashboard now is, rather than what else are we playing, we just have a topic section called What's the Buzz? Basically the idea, anything that Kato and I have been thinking about, could be Fallout related, could be gaming related, that has kind of been bubbling through our heads that we thought was important, that we thought we'd like to talk about. We'll go down there. Sadly, our brains were just a bit full with something. I won't tell you what, but I think you can figure it out. So just for the future as to how that's going to go, just kind of a small change to the format. And of course, we're always and we'll be continuing to look for viewer submitted topics from you guys for discussion to include in future episodes of the PIPCAST. Throw them down in the comment section below if you have any suggestions that you'd like to see us talk about. We'd like to thank you guys very much for sticking around. This now the 9th episode of the PIPCAST. Fallout 4 has arrived. It is a new era for the PIPCAST as we move forward. There will be plenty of Fallout 4, and honestly, I know this is like super premature, but I'm like really excited for that moment when the PIPCAST becomes a giant hype train for the next Elder Scrolls game.
Oh yeah.
Just because I'm so stoked with what they did here, I can't even imagine like what, in 5 years Bethesda could be doing with Elder Scrolls or with a completely original idea. Like, I think they really just crushed it well out of the ballpark with Fallout 4. And I'm very excited for the future for Bethesda, Todd Howard, and the rest of his team. If you guys have any other questions for us, feel free to throw them down in the comment section below, and we will see you in the next one.
Have a good one.